What do you think has been the most rewarding thing since you've really buckled down and tried to pursue being an actress? You know, what's been the highlight right there?
Definitely for me so far, it's been Groundlings, like getting to train. Right now I'm in Karen Mariyama's class, and I grew up watching Karen on Whose Line Is It Anyways?
Sure.
And I always thought she was so cool because she would always wear like these like green shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was little, I would be like, that girl's so cool. And I just don't know why her episodes would always come on. She wasn't on a ton of them, but her episodes, we would watch the reruns and they always came on when I was little. And so she was like kind of like a fundamental piece for me in that show. And so now I'm like in her class at Groundlings.
Yeah.
And I love her so much. She's like by far one of the best teachers I've had. And she just is amazing. And she pushes me really hard in every class. She's so like she's amazing. And she pushes me to do things that I don't think I'm capable of doing. And she's definitely hard. She's not for the faint of heart. Like she she knows. She's like, I know I yell, but it's 'cause I care. And she's amazing. And she's just really pushed me to do things that I didn't think I was going to be able to do in my craft of improvising.
Sure.
And it's just getting to be in Groundlings even. And like once the school opens back up, like getting to be in the halls. It's like I got to be at the school before it shut down for COVID, and just being in the halls and seeing like photos of people that I respect so much, like Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig,
a lot of history there.
Maya Rudolph, and seeing them when they were young in their programs, like they have the photos up of them doing like characters. It's a really surreal feeling, and I'm just like honored I get to be there. I'm just like, this is a very cool thing that I get to do, and I'm proud that I get to train with these teachers who are just really amazing teachers. They're just really good people who are fucking good at their craft. Like they're just amazing. Like honestly, like this is like the best way I can put it. I'm just like, they're insane. Like,
isn't that so satisfying when you see, and it can be anything, but just somebody that is so well trained, and you can just tell like that guy has put in more than 10,000 hours at that craft.
Yes.
Because it's such a beautiful thing to
and
watch.
you see it. You can see it when they're on stage and they're doing stuff. I'm like, oh, it's so subtle. Like they do long form improv, some of the teachers, and I've seen them, and they're like doing stuff. They're like bringing things back from like 4 scenes ago that they improvised, and they're like bringing it back into a recent scene. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how you guys are doing that. Like it's incredible.
Sure.
It just like probably when you watch that comedian and you were like, dude, he's like a master of words. Like
no, for sure. It's I mean, you can just tell like that guy more than 10,000 hours.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt. Like there's just no other way to get it that dialed.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we wrap this show? Because I've kind of kept it going.
No, I get that.
And I know a lot of individuals have kind of their own thought of the conversation, you know what I mean, before we start. So is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I do want to talk about Groundlings because I know some people might be interested in auditioning for Groundlings.
Sure.
So I would just say if you do audition, don't be nervous about the audition because the audition is actually the easiest part. So auditioning is not the hard part.
Okay.
It's staying in the schools. Staying in the programs the hard part. It's definitely not even that. No, staying in the classes isn't even bad. It's, I think, once you get into writing lab and then you are trying to get into Sunday company, that's when it gets more competitive. But don't be nervous about the audition. That's like my main thing. If anyone is interested in acting and they're like, well, where do I start? I want to do improv and comedy. Definitely Groundlings or UCB is a good school too in LA. But the audition, they're mainly just looking for eye contact. I remember that was like a big thing my teacher kept telling me because I had taken a couple of like just like small classes before I auditioned in, and she was like, they just want to see that you can make eye contact with everyone. Like, it's
a confidence move.
Yeah, for sure it's a confidence move.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that would be my main thing. Just don't be nervous if you did audition into the school. It's a very fun audition process. You basically just do improv exercises. So
I love those subtleties of like, you know, because it makes sense. It's like you're going to come in here and audition to be in this class and you can't even look me in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It makes a statement to be like, I'm here and I'm in the room.
Look at me in the eye. Yeah, look at me in the eye, Potter. Yeah, exactly. I want to see the lights leave your eyes. Yeah.
You're such a nerd.
Sorry. Just love Voldemort so much.
Well, what do you think the biggest... Sorry.
No,
What
good.
do you think the biggest thing... You know, this is kind of a simple question, but one of the biggest things that you've learned from being at Groundlings, you know? Because you've been going for, you know, obviously 2 with COVID,
years,
but off and on for
half,
quite some time. You know, when you think about it, What's kind of the big takeaway?
Specificity, for sure, because they drill that into you. You need to be specific with your scenes and your characters, and every choice you make is a specific choice when you're improvising. But there's so much about improv that I can get into that's so meta, just into my own life that I've learned from Groundlings and doing improv, and it's definitely formed me into being a better person. But one of the big things definitely is like yes anding. Of course, that's like the basic of any improv is you have to yes and your scene partner. But like learning to just be collaborative and specific with, they drill that so heavily into you that it really does transfer into life.
Yeah.
Because you start realizing like the more specific I am in my own life, even the better results I'll have than being very general.
Specific and deliberate. You know what I mean? Like make each minute on purpose.
Exactly. Like everything's intentional. Yeah. And that's like obviously not all the time, but when it comes to like the big things, like what you want for yourself, I would say this to anybody who's like working themselves out of like a rut. You know what I mean? Or like, because you know, I came from a very broken childhood. I did not have life given to me.
Sure.
And so I would just say to anybody who's coming from that kind of a background, like you need to be specific with what you want for yourself. You don't have the luxury of getting caught up in things that other people can, like partying and drinking and whatever. Like that's not a luxury you can afford. Like you need to stay focused and you need to really want what you want and be specific about it. That would be, I think, my biggest thing if anyone's trying to get themselves.
Right.
Because it's like, my thing is like, if I can be pursuing acting, anyone can. Because I did not have, it's not like I had parents that were like in the industry or anything. Like, so, yeah.
One thing that I learned from a recent podcast guest actually is, I mean, he was talking about financials, but action taken.
Yeah.
Right. So there's so many times where, and everybody gets caught up in this. You're like, oh, well, I'm reading, I'm listening to podcasts, and I'm reading books, and I'm Googling this, and I'm trying to read up on this. It's like, okay, but what action is actually being taken?
Yes.
Going back to being intentional, especially for somebody that's in a rut. So you go, okay, this is what I want. I'm doing all the research, but what action has been taken? Am I just partying or am I just doing this? You know what I mean? That's the action that's being taken. So you're getting the results of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of simple math if you look at it like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So one step at a time in the right direction. But if you enjoyed this content, be sure to check out the Standing Still podcast, both here on YouTube and wherever else you listen to podcasts.